And welcome back. And we're moving into our second conversation for today as we introduce you to the Belize Home Caregivers Association. We have with us the founder of this association, Sasha Eiley, and we have one of the caregivers from the association, Andrea Avaloy. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Good morning.
So this is an idea, and we were talking a bit about it during the break. You said you really wanted to be able to work towards this for a while, and it finally came to fruition just about a year ago. So Sasha, tell us your story about getting and forming this association.
Well, what happened is my mom was a caregiver, and I used to tag along with her. And the work they do is actually really intense. And I don't think they really get the acknowledgement or the respect. And then I realized that if there was a problem, who would you go to? Like, do you go to the Nurses Association? Like, do you guys belong to anyone? And the answer was no. So I kept going with my mom to her work site, and I spoke with so many people, elderly persons, and it was just amazing. The stories, it was just amazing, and I said that I have to do something to help the caregivers and the elderly persons in Belize. So in 2012, I wrote my business plan. And what I did since then was I did some intense researching, and I basically spoke with every NGO in the country and Help Age International about my plan and my idea. I did so via email. The reason is because I was 22, and when it comes to health, people feel more safe speaking to someone older when it comes to dealing with your loved one. So what I did was just hide behind my email. They knew this Sasha Eiley, but they didn't know a face, and my voice still sounded a bit childlike, so I made sure that my contacts were made via email. It's something I kept working on non-stop, to be honest. It's something that I just, a day wouldn't pass without me thinking about what can I do. I can't just stay idle by. I will go and read something about home care. And so I just kept myself educated, and I saw an ad on Facebook from Beltrade to submit your business idea, and I was not going to do it. And then I said, what the heck? And I just sent it in like 5 minutes before the deadline. And I think it was almost 1,000 or something like that. And then they decided from there, then they chose 200, and then it was 60, then 20 or something like that. And it was hard because I told them it was only me, and I have all this information, but in my head, and I don't really know how to put that on paper. So Beltrade, the program is basically to help you develop a business from ground up. So they made sure that you did all the groundwork, all the surveys and everything. I cried.
Wow.
And a business is very different from an association.
Yes, so it's really hard. So I cried. I was like, who can I ask for help? And Ishel from NCA helped a lot. Dr. Hochandande helped a whole lot. And everyone tried to help where they can, but most of those NGOs, it's just like one person working there, so it was very difficult to get the information I needed. When I did receive the grant, it went into an office on my website. My website actually cost the most because I wanted it to be very informative and user-friendly.
Sasha, I want to step back a bit. You obviously were very driven to be able to accomplish this, to start this association, to look out for the best interests of home caregivers and the people they're giving care to. And it really leads me to believe that there must have been something you were seeing that disturbed you on a level that you just knew it was an action that had to be taken. Was that the case? Was
Yes.
it? Yeah.
You see, when I visited those homes with my mom, I listened to the stories, and most of them were they were neglected, you know, and Belize really do not have any information for persons over 60, 65, and then there's just the Mercy Clinic, and it wasn't a lot. Belize don't do enough for the elderly.
Yeah.
And I thought that, well, maybe I can do something to help, because caregiving is not just about placing someone to help someone. There has to be a fit and a chemistry. And it's not as simple as a fit and a chemistry, but they live longer and happier lives.
Yeah.
If you are depressed and sad, your life gets cut.
Yeah.
If you're happier, you live longer. So it's about chemistry. So
never
I
thought of
thought
that,
to
yeah.
myself that I will create a database on my website where you can actually rate caregivers and choose one by district. So that's what I did, and it's still a work in progress, because I am working with Beltrade, who now gives the training, and
So
Red
now
Cross.
they train people officially to become caregivers.
Yes,
Wow.
Yeah.
that was National Council on Aging idea,
Yeah.
because they saw the need for it.
Yeah.
So they started, I'm not sure that Beltrade will be doing any training soon, but Red Cross has been doing training since 1995, and they do it 3 times a year, training 90 persons a year.
Yeah.
That's like for 23 years.
Yeah.
So there's a huge number of caregivers
Wow.
Who have been trained.
who have been trained, certified, but most moved on, used that as a stepping stone to get into the medical field.
Yes.
Some went from that to nurses or emergency responders, or some went into child care.
So that leads me to Andrea.
Yes.
What interested you in this particular profession?
To be honest, my dad passed away when I was 11 years old. And when he was a diabetic actually, and I was young and I was always willing to help him. He had a wound, to clean his wound, although it wasn't correct in that time, I was just trying. And then I went to high school, I went to the academic field, and then I noticed that I need to help elderly.
Yeah.
They need our help. They need a helping hand sometimes. They cannot do everything by themselves. It becomes more difficult while aging, and especially if they have been in like the hospital, surgery, or a fall, or something that is like a tragedy to them. They need caregivers to be at their side to help them, to let them be comfortable.
Yeah.
And what we do, we do everything for our patients. We not everything. We don't baby them. We give them their
Because they don't
There's a
like to
balance.
be
Yes.
babied.
They want their
One
Yes,
thing
they
with
want
the
their
elderly, they
independence.
want
course.
their independence.
Yeah.
Okay.
and we give them their space. They have a say. We don't dictate to them.
Yeah.
We just be like their comforter when they need it. You know, and we give them motivation to. If they get a fall and they can't walk by themselves, by us being around, they are very determined to say, okay, I will do this, and that's like a big smile on the caregiver's face when they
What comes to mind for me is conversations we've had in the past with representatives of the National Council of Aging, and hearing of this less spoken about issue of elderly abuse and neglect. And it can be from family members, but it could also be from caretakers. Perhaps you just hire someone to check on your parent, and you don't know what's happening.
That's the reason we have the association. The association is there because there's no one to complain to. If you get a caregiver and she did something or touched something or you were not pleased, you have somewhere to report that caregiver to. You know, it's to raise the standard.
Absolutely.
It's to raise the standard. That's the reason why we plan to have ratings.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, for me, firstly, I want to say congratulations to you from an entrepreneurial standpoint.
Thank
You actually made the leap, and I think that's where our young minds are supposed to be at this particular point. I'm sure you thought about the whole. You've never had the mindset that, you know what, this is going to fail. You were determined. So again, congratulations to you. Secondly, you know, Belizeans flock to the diaspora, or Belizeans out in the diaspora. That's where you hear a lot about caregiving, and my mom was one of those people. So it's there to me, listening to the stories about it. I've listened to stories or seen writings about people saying, you know what, I'm looking for a caregiver. So now we know that we've got one. Andrea, there are a lot of people who might not want to venture out or think about it as, you know what, this is not, I don't really want, you know, why would you tell somebody this is definitely a field you would want to be in?
It's an open eye, especially to elderly, like they're in their last stages of life. And we want to be in that last stage someday. So we should put ourselves in their shoes, that they need help and we give them help, because for one day we'll be needing help and we would like the same as we become the elderly.
Now, this isn't a job for everybody.
No.
It's like teaching.
No,
Like
it's
I
not.
think you have to want and need and love to be a
You
teacher.
have to have a passion for it.
Passion.
Because
You have to have patience.
I was gonna say the elderly
And
population can be, and it depends on what. Because Alzheimer's, for example, requires a whole special skill set.
Yes.
Talk to us about some of the challenges of being a caregiver, and so people understand that it's not just going in and making sure somebody eats or their place is clean. It's a far bigger responsibility than that.
It's a lot of responsibility mentally.
Yeah.
So caregivers need to know when they need a break so that they don't burn out.
Yeah.
Because they're dealing with mainly people that are terminal. So they will experience, you're human, you get attached.
Yeah.
And I won't lie, some of these people are so sweet and their story so incredible.
Yeah.
And when they pass away, you know, it affects you. So you have to know when to take a break and you have to know when to ask for help. And that's why the association is there to support.
Yeah. So obviously we see where the association offers so many needs for caregivers and also for those who are seeking the services of caregivers. My question is, what's your recommendation to people? In Belize, we have a culture where sometimes an elderly person just lives with us. And maybe no one is really, everybody goes to work, the kids go to school, and nobody really attends to the needs of the elderly person. Or on the flip side, there's one person who's dedicated and never gets a break.
Yeah.
What's your recommendation in seeking the services of a caregiver versus having the family take on the full responsibility?
The family, well, what I learned was you really need to have take some type of course, because home care isn't just, oh, I get up and mind mommy. It's, you really need to be trained for it. For example, you can't be helping someone who's disabled and you just pull them up. There's a certain way you have to lift them. So the family member needs to be trained. And when it comes to one family member dealing with all that stress, they too will get burnout and will probably need some type of help.
Yeah.
Even if it's just they are there with their mother or father, but they need companion care whereby there's just a caregiver present. And that caregiver is there speaking to that person about whatever game they like, or if they wish to speak about religion, then it's religion, or you know, because on the application form, is very detailed.
Yeah.
It has the dosage, what they like, their dislike, how mobile they are. It's very, very, very detailed. And this is a bit abstract, but one thing I learned, because I've been learning a lot, Belizeans no like follow farm. Belizean, I always direct them to the website because it's very easy. Even if you're on your phone, it's very easy to use. They don't like filling out
the form.
so it's to get people used to it, because it's very important. When it comes to health, you need to cover everything.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You can't just say, oh, I need a caregiver because my mom had diabetes. No, we need to know
All
if they
the
could use the
details.
bathroom on
Yes.
their own, where he meals, where he eat, like all the meds,
Diet,
when she
yes.
should
Yeah.
take it. If you like movies, books, what not to talk about, you know. And I find that a lot of people just want to do it the Belizean type of way. I need this and that. Give me the number for this. No, mom, you really need to fill out the form. It's
Yeah.
very important.
What's the website?
It's www.belizehomecaregivers.com.
Yeah. So, you mentioned something before that I think was just really interesting. Looking at the chemistry between the caregiver and the person who's receiving the care. Why is that so important?
It's important because imagine you're ill and you're around someone, and every time they come around you, you're irritated, but they are the one you need to ask for help.
Yeah.
That's true.
You know, what are the Belizean term? My vibe's just not taken.
We know vibe. Yeah.
Not, I mean, the person could be a totally good person, very knowledgeable, and you know how they say, my vibe just not take you, like you're not comfortable.
Yeah.
So you want them to be as comfortable as possible so that they can speak to you and say, this is wrong with me, this is what I need, you know. And happy people live longer. It's
Yeah.
proven.
Andrea, tell us about your experiences when you first encounter someone that you're giving care to. How do you build that rapport with them?
Okay.
You look so pleasant. I'm sure you're
Yeah,
walking
she
up
is,
here.
With my experience, like approximately 2 years dealing with elderly, and my experience is awesome. It's difficult, but like difficult awesome, because I know to overcome that
Yeah.
that gate, right? Different patients have different attitude towards the caregiver, and you just need to have a bond with them. Like, feel free to talk with them, listen, because they want to be heard,
They want to be
and they
heard.
love their independence. So you can't say, okay, I'll do this for you, or dictate to them. No. Dementia and Alzheimer's, it's a lot of time
Hard.
and patience, because you might get real frustrated in some cases, and you just need to take a break, let them fire off and go back to them. Don't argue with them. It will lead to chaos.
Yeah.
Some patients are with Alzheimer's, they forget things, or they might hit you by mistake, or you can't react back. You just need to let them, they can take a breath, and they'll realize what they're doing after you explain to them. It's a
Challenging.
yes,
Yeah.
it's a challenge.
What's
Like-
your favorite thing to do on your job?
Dealing with wounds and vitals.
Oh, okay.
A nurse, man.
Yeah, yeah.
A nurse. What about listening to wonderful stories? I'm sure there are wonderful stories being told by
Wonderful stories.
Yeah.
They're wonderful.
Yeah, I actually have a really intense stamp collection, thanks to them. All those elderly
Really?
people, yes. The person that my mom had, she collected everything. When you walk in her house, it was like a museum, a flashback. And I told her that I collect stamp, and she said, "Oh, me too." And she brought me a
Wow.
whole bunch, and she had them because I think she worked at the bookstore. So it was from like British Honduras.
Wow.
Yes, so it's nice. And then all the stories, I think she was also like the first operator, female operator too. Like they're all just wonderful stories, and like they want to tell someone these stories.
Yeah.
So it's really nice. I like it.
And not only that, you know, what you're pointing out is that it goes beyond providing the basic needs. They want companionship.
Yeah.
It's yes, there's a companion care. There's
Okay.
actually companion care
Okay.
just for that.
So that leads us, I think, to some of the more practical things. What type of services do caregivers offer? And
Pediatric care, companion care, after surgery care, and all around home care.
yeah.
There is one important thing to note that I probably should have started off with. And in home caregiver, a home health caregiver, is not a nurse nor a registered nurse. When I did my survey, about 40 people, I would say 30 thought that caregiver was a registered nurse. So
Oh.
there's a huge
Yeah. Misconception.
misconception of what a caregiver is and
Yeah.
a registered nurse. And I think that people don't seek the help they need because they think they can't afford a home caregiver,
Yeah.
because a registered nurse is really expensive. That's the reason you have in-home caregivers that are affordable, but people, they're not well educated, and they think that a caregiver is a registered nurse,
Yeah.
and that's a total misconception.
So you can get a home caregiver for specific periods, short term, long term, night care. All of those are accessible.
Yes, or if the family takes care of their own and they need a break, they can just ask for a caregiver for that day, or if they want to take a vacation, they can just ask
Yeah.
for a caregiver for that day, or if the caregiver wants to take a vacation, then
Yeah.
we find another caregiver to fill in just for that day.
Sasha?
I'm sure you switched on a lot of lights when you mentioned, because you're right. You know, it takes a special skill to give home care. Where do they go again, and who do they call?
Well, they can call me at 630-0172,
Yeah.
or they can just simply visit the website. It's very user friendly, and it's easy to access on your phone, and I will always direct you right back to the website to fill out the form if you want to become a member of the association, or if you actually need a caregiver. I will always direct you right back to the website, because there are forms that need to be filled,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to care.
Yeah. So, you know, being a hub for people to contact if they do need a caregiver for whatever reason, I can imagine that that is something where you probably have an easier access to that market. What has it been like getting caregivers to sign up to be a part of the
Yeah.
association?
Well, they are directed to come to me after training, because I am in collaboration with NCA, Beltrade, Human Development, and a bunch of other organizations. So they are directed to me.
Okay.
And
But they have a choice.
they have a choice.
Yeah. But they see the benefits?
They have a choice, but there are benefits. For one, we will try to do free Q&A sessions, and we will try to have different courses. For example, caregivers can take massage therapy, and it really helps. Then the caregivers from Beltrade, they are specialized in dementia. My Red Cross caregivers are not specialized in dementia, but they are more in-depth in quick response and CPR. Some in child care. So the entire thing is, the benefit is to just have everyone up to the same standard. So we plan to do different courses, and I think I will be assisted by Dr. Hochandande.
Okay.
So we're planning to have a course specifically in dementia care for everyone who is a member, and we're trying to make everything free but it's kind of impossible because I am supposed to be collecting membership fee that I'm not, because I'm on an education crusade. So I told them that we need to get people educated.
Yeah.
They need to see that there's a need for the service, and then we move forward.
Yeah.
So
We do have a rapidly aging population, and I think that
Yes.
it's really being, it's having a long-term vision. Maybe the needs today, well, we know the needs today don't represent what it will be 5-10 years
Yes,
from now. So I think this is such a great initiative. I hope that caregivers contact you, they join the association. We hope that people get online and fill out those forms as they're supposed to, and see whether it's just a break that they need or just temporary help, or maybe, you know, they need to accept that their loved one is at the point where they require additional caregiving services.
yes, because I was told by BTB, I think it was David Grant at the time, he mentioned that he had this meeting to go because he was, I think he was head of the Belize Retiree Incentive Program, and he said that the one question that is asked yearly is, what do you offer in help? So he said, well, now we can tell them that we have association with certified in-home caregiving, so it's like a package now. Belize is a complete package now.
Definitely. Excellent.
Thank you so much for coming in,
No
and
problem.
best of luck.
Thank you
you
too.
too.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about Revive Belize, and that's an event that's taking place this week.